of work, I wanted to, kind of talk to all of you about future of work, as in workplaces, work culture, and employees. So, we have three different people from three different facets of life, right? So it's like a, confluence of all the ideas. So I wanted to understand how, COVID has transformed our lives once for all. I think there is no going back. Okay. So with that, with COVID, because of the demands of the business and the business continuity, we moved to remote. And then we then, wanted people to come back to office when people were reluctant, and then we figured out ways to which we can bring them back to office, and then still some are struggling. And then now I think more or less most companies have adopted this hybrid kind of a model where you work out of office 2 to 3 days a week, and then the remaining 2 days you work from home. So earlier also, before pre-COVID, at leadership levels, this used to be a common practice, because leaders folks kind of worked all through the day, and 1 or 2 days when they are not able to, or they are recouping from travel or something, they used to work from home, and they'd still be available. So this used to happen in a more unofficial way. Right now things have become more this thing. So I wanted to understand from all of you on your perspectives of how you are seeing, like from a startup's perspective, from from IBM's perspective, and from a academia perspective, what you guys wanted. So I wanted to ask you, Anand, so as in wanted to understand. So it should have been a double challenge for you, because you sold Vogo to Chalo at in 2022, right? So which is a time when people were recouping from COVID, and you were also asking them to come back to offices. That was challenge number one. Plus, during an M&A, always people from the company that got acquired feel a little threatened as well. So how did it affect the transition affected your workplace, your employees from Vogo that moved into Chalo, and what happened there?
So I think there were multiple phases of this journey, right? So one was actually just when COVID happened, the first 2 years, before our sale and just after COVID, right? So there the challenge was obviously different, where suddenly we had around 250 people, like I said, getting 250 people, both tech and non-tech, to now start working from home, right? Now compulsorily, not even by choice. Is the first challenge, right? How do you actually coordinate? How do you make stuff work? Because a lot of our business is on the ground. Like scooters have to be kept moving. If you're building product features, you need to figure out how people are responding to them. You have to get customer feedback.
Mhm.
How do you do all of that actually sitting out of home, right? So I think that was the first step in terms of just challenges. How do you transition an online plus offline business um, to largely to a work from home setup, right? So that's one. The second part was when we started to look at the sale itself, right? And I think pre-sale and just during that entire phase, um, the most important thing is how employees are feeling, right? Because someone like me, who is actually directly talking to the acquirer, is completely plugged in. I know that what's going on, how people are going to be impacted, who's in, like how interests are being protected, and so on. But you can't communicate everything to everybody, right? So at the same time, they are not seeing you every day, so they don't know what's going on, right? So that's like the second phase of the challenge itself, right? And the last part is post-star acquisition, right? Where is integrating into a new company like Chalo, and figuring out how their culture works. How should we, what do we integrate, what do we not integrate, and so on and so forth. And again, how do you do that with a largely people working from home kind of culture, right? So there are three phases in which this happened for us in that 4 year period, right? In the first, I think across all the three phases, the simplistic answer is that the solution was very, very strong communication, right? Which is at all frequencies, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly. You be as transparent as possible. Actually, be more transparent than you would if you were all working from an office, right? Because when you're working from an office, information just spreads automatically, right? Because everyone is sitting, if it's 200 people, everybody's sitting on, let's say, one floor, right? So you don't necessarily need to tell people everything that's going on. Like information spreads on a daily basis. People know what's going on, right? But when you're doing work from home, you have to put a significantly higher effort, right? Whether it's business as usual or you're growing, in both situations you have to do that. In an M&A, even more so, right? So what we did do, because it was in the M&A situation, for example, when it was later when we knew for sure that the deal was happening, we actually had the next level of team and even more people. And anybody wanted to, maybe like 30-40 people, the leadership -1, -2, actually sit down with the acquirer and just do a ask me anything kind of session, right? It was like even 4 months before the acquisition happened, so that people are comfortable, because rumors spread irrespective, right? So that kind of communication, doing all hands monthly, talking to people on a daily basis. Some of these disciplines, even if you miss it when you're working from an office, it's okay, right? But in a work from home setup, it becomes super important. So doing a lot of that, over communicating as much as you can, right? Giving people that believe that you have their back, you're looking out for them, right? Whether it is business as usual or during M&A, I think that was the most important thing that we did, right? And I would say this is like a overriding kind of factor. Post the acquisition, again, very different challenge, right? Because what started to happen is we post the acquisition, we started to move to a hybrid kind of culture, right? Where slowly we started ask people to come into office as per their convenience, and then a particular number of days, and now it's actually 5 days a week, right? So again, both the companies are moving from a work from home ish kind of culture during COVID to a work from office kind of culture where uh, both are coming from obviously different backgrounds, because the head office of Chalo used to work from office even during like post the second wave, whereas Vogo was entirely work from home till the acquisition itself. So moving that to hybrid and then 5 days a week is what was the third phase of how this happened, and also getting different companies to work together, right? To do that, I think what really helped was actually working from office, because the way I had my team work over those 7 years, right, whether it's work from office, work from home, that culture was very different from what we had done when people were how Chalo had built its culture over the last 10 years, right? And putting those two together, getting these people to work together, because we also moved people across teams, making all that happen, work from home was actually fairly difficult, right? I'll talk more about my general philosophy about this whole future of work later, but this is broadly what our experience was like.
How difficult was it to bring them back? Was
To
it
office,
easy? Yeah.
it actually took time, right? And I think for different uh, kinds of people treat work from home and work from office differently, right? So for a certain set of people, and this applies at like all levels, whether it is leadership till the rank and file, some people like working from office, right? So when they come back, they realize that they were missing it, right?
Mhm.
And they want that this of actually meeting people. There are obviously a bunch of downsides to working from office also. It's not like it's all rosy. There's commute, there's a bunch of other reasons to not work from office, but I sort of felt that there are a large section of people who liked it. Right, they're happy that okay, the 2 years of working from home are coming to an end. Right, there were a section of people who hate coming to office. They believe that it's the worst possible thing a company can do. Right, if you ask me to come back to office, then I will leave. Right, so I think there are people at like different ends of the spectrum. Uh, but I think it took us like a year and a half to slowly ask people to come back to office and actually start working out of office. Uh, it's difficult to say now whether everybody's happy or not, but we do have like 100% of our people working from office today.